Israel, and the final eighth missile in an unknown area of Israel. But they have detected 8 ballistic missiles from Iraq. This has now been confirmed, and obviously this rewrites all of the equation as far as this war is concerned. Pentagon officials are clearly bracing, as I reported earlier, for some sort of Israeli response, and that probably could take place at any second if it hasn't already. David?
Wolf, was there any further confirmation of your earlier report that one of the missiles landed near Holon, a suburban area where there's a large hospital?
Yes, the 2 that landed in the Tel Aviv area, south of Tel Aviv, landed one in Holon along the Mediterranean and one elsewhere, Kiryat Shalem, near Tel Aviv, both suburban areas, part of the greater Tel Aviv area. And let's just recap. 1 is known to have landed in the Haifa area, 3 in unpopulated, largely unpopulated parts of Israel, and the 8th in an unknown area, although it was detected by intelligence. Clearly, as I said, this is something that will cause the Israelis almost certainly to respond. The U.S. had asked Israel in the days leading up to the war that if there were an Iraqi missile attack, not to respond, to let the United States continue to take action, not bring Israel into this war. The U.S. has been concerned that an Israeli involvement could upset some of the Arab coalition partners. But the Israelis, I am told authoritatively, told the United States, including the Deputy Secretary of State who was in Israel last week, Lawrence Eagleberger, that if the Iraqis launched an initial strike, a first strike at the Israelis would absorb it, but then they would retaliate in their own national interest, and that's what everyone is certainly bracing for now. No word again, David, on the extent of casualties in Israel. We'll have to await some on-the-scene reports from our correspondents there if they can get out of their hotels or their offices.
Needless to say, Wolf Blitzer, this is very serious business, as we just heard from James Blackwell of CSIS. Anyone who is threatened by an incoming missile with a possible poison gas warhead has no time, virtually no time to react. So be in gas masks, take all precautions, follow what the officials are saying. You don't have time to be brave and later react. If you're told to seal your windows, seal your windows. If you're told to get in protective gear, get in it and stay in it. We have a fresh report from Dahran, where we reported earlier that the international hotel there had been, the people inside had been told to go to the bomb shelters. They have now been asked to allowed to return from the bomb shelters. The international hotel in Dahran, Saudi Arabia, now assuming a safer status. Now back here in the studio with James Blackwell for... All right, we have on the telephone spokesman Nathan Diamond. I believe he's with IDF, and he is a spokesman for IDF, the Israeli Defensive Force. Please come in, sir. Nathan Diamond with the IDF, can you hear me? The IDF? Mr. Diamond? I'm calling Nathan Diamond of the Israeli Defense Force. Well, we don't have Nathan Diamond up on that line, but Larry Register in our Jerusalem bureau is there in his gas masks. Larry, what's the latest?
Yeah, well, we're looking now at Israel Television, which has a slide up. We're showing you a picture of Israel Television, which has a slide up. We're still trying to gather information here. What we have so far is that Nachman Shai, Brigadier General Nachman Shai, who is the chief spokesman for the IDF, says on Israel radio that 2 missiles have landed. Palestinian sources have said they heard 5 missiles land. I repeat, 5 missiles land.
Our report from the Pentagon has the number perhaps up as high as 8, Larry. Izzy Lindbergh, our camera person, is there with you. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about all of the people there and whether they're safe right now or not?
I'm sorry, I could not hear the question. Please repeat.
Larry, just give me an idea of who is there with you and that they're okay now.
Okay, I'll give, yes, we're all okay. And we've heard from our correspondent in Tel Aviv, Richard Roth. He's okay. Let me do a quick pan. Our cameraman is Andre Brown. He is okay. Trey Haney is the sound man. He's okay. Correspondent Linda Scherzer.
Hi, Linda.
Fine. Linda Lucia is hi.
Are your windows...
Izzy Lindbergh, he's okay over there. Let me talk to Linda. If you could, we'll talk to Linda. Linda, how did you arrive to the Bureau?
I was called by someone to tell me that I should not leave my sealed room, that I should not go down to the bomb shelter, but that I should immediately put on my gas mask and get into the room. Shortly after that, I heard a police car come by with a loudspeaker advising the same thing and advising us to listen to the radio. I did just that, and then made a decision to come into the office. Overhead, I've been hearing lots of airplanes flying above, and beyond that, I'm here, and we're all here with our gas masks, and we're fine for the moment, and we hope to stay that way.
Linda, how did you arrive at the Bureau? How did you get to the Bureau?
Our CNN driver came.
The CNN driver came and got you. What did you see on the street? You came in about 15 minutes after I did. What did you see on the streets of Jerusalem?
The streets were deserted. Whatever cars were on the road were racing to get to their homes and to their sealed rooms.
Okay. Okay, that's the situation we can give you right now, a little update from the streets. Let me show you again what Israel Television is showing. They have a slide up. They had their countdown on a second ago. I thought that indicated they might have a special program, but at the moment they have a slide up. I'm trying to see if I can hear any audio. They're playing music. Very slow, somber music. So this is what Israel Television is showing for anyone who might have their television in their sealed room. This is what they would be seeing at this moment in the houses around Israel. That's the situation I can tell you right now here in Jerusalem. We'll update you as we hear more. Do you have any questions for me?
Larry Register, Linda Scherzer, and the group, thank you very much. We'll be right back to you in Jerusalem. I understand there have been many hits there. I want you all to continue to take those precautions. We're going to Tel Aviv on the telephone with Richard Roth. He was on with us earlier reporting that there had been some explosions in that area. What's the latest, Richard Roth, in Tel Aviv?
The latest is we're all sitting here in gas masks. It's a little tough to breathe here. I've just removed it slightly so you can hear me. The glass is fogging up on me here. We've heard several explosions. No way of knowing how far away they are. A few hours ago, I was just reading an article about how a war might go after it had already started. It was calm here in Tel Aviv. I looked out. The waves were lapping on the beach, and I was laying down on bed, and you hear the sound of the siren, and you think that it must be a car, which is, there have been these frequent false alarms, and
Bob, basically a comment that suggests that once again officials are glued to their television sets to find out what's happening. I was in Marlon Fitzwater's office when all this came about. He had no information. We have not gotten any as yet, but I can see a lot of activity in Scowcroft.
We do have reports now of perhaps nerve gas in Tel Aviv, and we're going to the White House at this moment, and Charles Bierbauer. Charles.
David, once again, U.S. officials are glued to their television sets to try and find out just what is going on in the Middle East. In fact, I was in Marlon Fitzwater's office when the first word of this attack surfaced. Mr. Fitzwater has not come out and given us any real detailed information at this point. They're trying to ascertain just what is going on, doing so, as I say, mostly by watching television. There is a lot of activity that I can see through the curtain windows of National Security Advisor Brent Scowcroft's office. The whole question is, what do the Israelis do next?
Down to the shelter. Once we were in the shelter, we were told that there apparently had been a missile launch. We asked Saudi officials, quote, are there birds in the air? They nodded at us, yes. We were led to understand that Saudi radar, pardon me, Saudi radar did detect several, and we don't know what several means, Scud missile launches in the direction of Saudi Arabia. Now, we were told when we came back up here to keep our gas masks and respirators with us that the chance of some sort of attack was still fairly high. The chance of a chemical attack was questionable, but that we should keep respirators with us and be prepared to re-evacuate to the shelter at any moment. So we are now here on the camera platform waiting to see what happens next. The lights are still on in this city all around us on both sides. There's no evidence of this area, an oil-producing area, an area with military bases being blacked out at all. But again, we were told by Saudi officials that they did detect some sort of launches in the direction of Saudi Arabia. They were as surprised as everyone else by the apparent, and I must stress apparent, attack on Israel, because they said right before this raid started, we were asking them, and they said as far as they knew, although they had not been in complete communication with them, their radars had not spotted any Scud launches in the direction of Israel. So that's the latest from here. We're waiting to see what happens next in eastern Saudi Arabia, and time will tell about that.
Charles, every time we see you, and thanks again for that fine report, every time we see you by your magnificent non-potted palm, you're alone. Are you alone?
No, I am not. I'm here with camera crews, Faray Dollar, my cameraman, Jim Miller, my producer, correspondent Rick Salinger, who looks like he just got out of bed, is standing here next to me. There is a, Jim, how many staff people do we have here?
About 35.
We have about 35 CNN staff people total in Saudi Arabia. I'm definitely not alone.
Okay,
everyone is concerned about this.
Charles, we need to go to Jerusalem now right away. We're going to switch, and we'll be back to you when we can.
Can we?
Sure.
And we're back in the bureau, the CNN bureau.
And we can just feed it straight through.
Right.
You guys want to come over and talk to
All right, that's Larry Register, our bureau chief in Jerusalem, with Linda Scherzer, correspondent.
Michael McMillan, how are you? How are you doing? Good, nice to see you. Hi. From BBC? Yes, yes. Okay, Michael, we're on live right now. If you can talk to us. Headley, you can come over, Headley, if you like. Michael, can you tell us what you've seen out there this morning in the streets of Jerusalem, where you're coming from?
Well, Jerusalem's pretty quiet at the moment. Obviously, there's no traffic on the road whatsoever. I remind you about, 45 minutes ago, or I suppose it's about an hour ago now, we had the air raid siren. We were in the Hilton Hotel. We got out of there very quickly. Most people have been taken downstairs into the basement. And basically, I suppose there's been a degree of confusion and panic throughout Jerusalem. I've certainly heard that something
Register?
up to 8 Scud missiles.
Larry Register, can you hear me interrupting you? Larry,
And,
this is David French in Washington. Larry, I'm sorry to interrupt you this way, but we have urgent news just in. And we have word from Charles Jaco in Dhahran that there had been explosions incoming, and then we lost our signal. Charles Jaco reporting from Dhahran that there was something incoming, meaning ordnance, and that there were explosions, and then we lost our signal. It doesn't mean anything necessarily bad has happened to those people we just saw. We're going to Dhahran now, and they're...
All three of you?
Maintain audio, we can maintain audio and show video.
Okay, we'd have to...
No, all we do is hit the switch and we can
Okay,
switch.
this is CNN.
Charles Jaco in Saudi Arabia here. There was just the sound of an explosion in the direction of the air base. We've been advised that this area is under threat of imminent attack any second. We should be prepared to go to the base or go to the shelters immediately. We're all preparing to get out. We hear sounds of something overhead, and there was a large explosion in the direction of the air base near here. As you can imagine, we're telling our people to get ready to get out of here and get to shelter as soon as they can.
Charles, fold it and go. Charles Jaco, fold it up and go, and God bless you, and thank you for that report.
We're thinking about it
At
right
the
now. I
Pentagon
think
now,
we should get...
Wolf
Okay,
Blitzer.
guys, break it down. Out of here.
Wolf Blitzer at the Pentagon, please.
Yes, David, only moments ago, Pentagon sources told CNN that the 8 Scud missiles, the ballistic missiles that landed in Israel, appear not to have had chemical or nerve warheads, that they did have conventional warheads. The first reports reaching the Pentagon say that the missiles that landed in Israel had conventional warheads, that Israel radio and television went on the air and told people to put on gas masks strictly as a precaution, a prudent precaution, obviously, given the fact that the Iraqis do have chemical capabilities. But the indications that the Pentagon has received are that the missiles, the 8 missiles that landed in Israel, had conventional warheads. We now see that planes are clearly taking off from air base in Saudi Arabia. It's obviously the middle of the night right now, and there have been these reports that Scuds are moving towards eastern Saudi Arabia as well. We've lost our feed from Saudi Arabia, but here at the Pentagon, we can confirm that the number is 8. 8 ballistic missiles from mobile launchers from Iraq landed in Israel, 2 in the southern Tel Aviv area, 2 in Haifa, 3 in rural, unpopulated areas of Israel. 1 landed in an area unknown, but it was tracked coming in. The Israelis are expected to retaliate massively. The Israelis had warned the United States that they would accept the first strike, but if it happened, the Israelis would retaliate. And we don't know if that retaliation has started yet, but we have learned that the Israelis are certainly going to retaliate. We therefore can confirm now that the initial reports...
You're on again.
Yes, I was just checking with our staff members here if everybody was okay. It's very hard to hear people talk inside these gas masks, and you're not sure who you're talking to sometimes. Still very difficult to hear what's going on outside. These rooms are sealed up. We're unable to see outside.
Well, we were talking here in the studio about the scale of this attack, at least from what we can tell. It is a few missiles. I'd like to put James Blackwell on with you just briefly. He has a comment to make.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if there was any more we could hear about the attacks in Iran. It seems to me that if we have one explosion in Iran, 8 missiles landing on Israel, that this is a desperation attempt by Saddam Hussein to terrorize the citizens, the people in the rear bases, with what is likely to be the last of the missiles that he has remaining after last night's attack, and in the process trying to capture headlines. I'm not sure if that's an accurate interpretation. It's far too early to make that kind of assessment. But if it were something more than that, we'd see a lot more missiles landing than we have so far.
Richard, you have an immediate reaction to any of that?
Well, I don't know if it's a final act of desperation. No one knows how many launchers or mobile missiles he's got ready, and certainly everyone here is not ready to say it's a final act of desperation. This city was breathing a big sigh of relief earlier yesterday, even though the streets were empty. And I don't know what to tell you, except that Israel, no doubt, is going to retaliate, and they have promised to do it swiftly and very completely. The Israeli Air Force has been on 24-hour alert. Pilots have been in their cockpits all the time.
All right, Richard, thank you very much for that report. Stay near those shelters and obey everyone there. We're going now once again to the Pentagon for the latest developments in Wolf Blitzer.
David, let me just recap what has taken place here at the Pentagon this evening. Pete Williams, the Pentagon spokesman, came back into this room a few minutes ago. First, the Pentagon has put out a formal statement, and let me read that to you. The Pentagon says, "We can confirm that Iraq launched Scud missiles that impacted in Israel. We do not have any numbers nor missile warhead type. We have been concerned about this all along. That is why Scuds are high priority targets." After that statement was released, Pentagon spokesman Pete Williams added that he did not have any idea exactly how many missiles did land in Israel. He also did not know whether they had a conventional warhead or some sort of chemical or gas warhead. He suggested that it was still premature to make any final conclusions. We have been told earlier that the initial indications are that the 8 missiles that landed in Israel did have conventional warheads.